Our reading today is from Henry Nouwen. Nobody escapes being wounded. We are all wounded people, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. The main question is not how can we hide our wounds so we don't have to be embarrassed, but how can we put our woundedness in the service of others? When our wounds cease to be a source of shame and become a source of healing, we have become wounded healers.
The immortal Chiron was a centaur, born with the upper body of a man and the lower body of a horse, because his father was a god who took the form of a horse, and his mother, the goddess Philara. Chiron, the centaur, was raised by Apollo, who taught him the healing arts, music, prophecy, while Apollo's twin sister, Artemis, taught him archery and hunting. Chiron excelled in all fields. It is said that he invented pharmacy, medicine, surgery. During a battle between some very bad behaving centaurs and his friend Hercules, Chiron was wounded by his friend Hercules with a poison arrow. Despite all his knowledge of healing in the universe, Chiron was unable to heal the wound, which was unbearably painful. Chiron turned to the healing arts as a means of healing himself, not only for himself, but for others too. He shined the light, giving it to others which he himself most needed. Rather than allowing the original wound to fester and dominate his life, he finds within it a source of motivation, even inspiration, that leads him to great significant contributions and achievements. His pain invites rather than imposes a sense of purpose and service and duty to others that enables and enriches his life in ways that other centaurs and other humans could not even begin to imagine. So 1951, Carl Jung first used the term wounded healer. Jung believed that the disease of the soul could be the best possible training for a healer. In a book published just days before his death, Jung wrote, "Only a wounded physician can heal effectively." In so doing, Jung drew upon the myth of Chiron. Only a wounded physician can heal effectively. Now, the term wounded healer next gained popularity in 1972 with this book, Henri Nouwen, The Wounded Healer, Ministry in Contemporary Society. The cover quote says, "In our own woundedness, we can become a source of life for others." One of my favorite quotes in this book is this. It says, "The great illusion of leadership is to think that a person can be led out of the desert by someone who has never been there." So maybe you've encountered a wounded healer in your life. I mean, they're all around us, just like bodhisattvas. They're helping others, and they're doing that because they know what suffering means, and they do it for us. But I gotta say, not everyone who has suffered is a wounded healer, because everyone has suffered and will suffer again. That's the part of life that can't be denied. But sometimes our suffering doesn't have to result in the ability to destroy ourselves, but it can be to help others as a wounded healer. So here's, do this from memory. Parable of the second arrow. So the Buddha was listening to a man in one of his talks, and the man said, "My life is miserable. Everything's wrong. It's just horrible. It's one thing after another. I'm overwhelmed with life. It's too friggin' much." They didn't probably say that 2,000 years ago, but it's too much. It's such a hard life. And the Buddha listened to the man with patience and compassion. And he said, "Suppose it, you're walking through the forest and you get hit by an arrow. and it's painful. And so you pull out the arrow. And the man says, yes, that would be very, very painful. But the Buddha goes on to say, what if a second arrow hits you in exactly the same spot? Would that be worse? And the man said, yes, that would be far worse, to be hit twice in the same spot. He says, yes, Lord, the second arrow will be more painful indeed. Then the Buddha said, you see, my friend, in life, we can't control the first arrow. Painful events, experiences, losing a loved one, failures, getting old, contracting diseases. We have to bear the pain of the first arrow. However, the second arrow is our reaction to the first arrow, which is to judge and to criticize ourselves, to become angry, to become hateful. We have no control over the first arrow, whereas the second arrow is optional. The second arrow represents the suffering which you cause yourself by reacting negatively to what you encounter in life. You can save yourself from the second arrow. So for me, wounded healers opt out of the suffering of the second arrow. Wounded healers are people whose painful experiences enable them to help others. Wounded healers, they're good listeners. They're empathetic. They're accepting. They're resourceful. They view all experiences as opportunities. Now, you can recognize a wounded healer by their behavior. Wounded healers know that healing is not fixing. It is not giving advice. Wounded healers don't say things like, things will turn out fine. Sometimes they don't. Wounded heroes don't say, you're going to get better, because sometimes you don't. They don't say time heals all sorrows, because sometimes it lingers. And they really don't say things like, you're not the only one that's hurting. Let me tell you about what I've had in my life. Wounded healers have the ability to offer others hope and perspective, two essential processes in the healing process. They're good listeners, empathetic, accepting, resourceful. I'll repeat, they view all experiences as opportunities. They don't talk too much. They can communicate more with their silent listening than with words. Now, Unitarian Universalists are driven to help people. That's the social justice part of this religion that has been our forte for several hundred years. We not only want to help people in need, but we also want to heal them from future suffering. But sometimes we err in our efforts to heal other people because we haven't pulled the second arrow out of ourselves. We can't become wounded healers because we haven't yet recognized that our own suffering can be a sense of purpose in service to others. In fact, it's our own hurt and pain that provides us with the power to heal others. We must be able to listen to other people's stories. We must be self-aware and learn how to listen to our own story. Howard Thurman was a phenomenal theologian, and he writes this. We'll close with this. I share the agony of your grief. The anguish of your heart finds echo in my own. I know I cannot enter all that you feel, nor bear the burden of your pain. I can but offer what my love does give, the strength of caring, the warmth of one who seeks to understand the silent, storm-swept barrenness of so great a loss as yours. This I do in quiet ways, that on your lonely path, you may not walk alone. Amen. and blessed be.